Hi, I'm Aloni Bhatt. Welcome to this closing fireside, part of the virtual ET Boardroom Dialogues on sustainability in collaboration with Diageo. In this session, our focus is on sustainable water management practices for businesses, a pathway to resilient green growth. And I'm delighted to have with me today Dr. Vibha Dhawan. She is the Director General of the Energy and Resources Institute, which is TERI. It's India's leading research institution. She's been associated with TERI since 1985. Dr. Dhawan's expertise in research and policy and development has contributed immensely at both national and international levels. With numerous publications to her name, Dr. Dhawan has played a vital role in establishing the highly successful micropropagation technology park at TERI. She is instrumental in setting up the National Center of Excellence in Green Ports and Shipping. She led DBT, the TERI Center of Excellence on Biofuels and Biocommodities. Dr. Dhawan, welcome to Economic Times, and we're very happy to have you here with us today to hear your views on how businesses of all sizes can navigate the intricate landscape of water management, promoting growth and resilience while ensuring long-term stability.
Thank you so much, Melanie, and I'm also very happy to be with I should say, ET today, because the kind of reach and the people who should understand the intricacies or the problems, challenges which are there, and also that we do have solutions to them, to most of them, I'll say. Now, if we look at India, it's a vast country. It's more of a continent. We call it subcontinent. It has 18% of the total world population and only 4% of total world's water resources. So that in a way shows the kind of crisis or the water that is available with us. And it's also that the population is still growing, and in a way we are also consuming a little more water, or it's also increasing. As per the Central Water Commission report, which was released in 2019, the current per capita water availability in India is about 1486 cubic meter per capita per annum, which perhaps will decline to 1228 cubic meters per capita per annum by 2050. And another report by NITI Aayog, which was brought out in 2018, so it's a little outdated, but still it talks of that about 820 million people in India will have per capita water availability either close to or below 1,000 cubic meters, which is called as a mark of water scarcity, as per the official threshold.
Right.
Now, overexploitation of water has also led to depletion of groundwater resources. The overall stage of groundwater development in India is 60.08%, but in some states like Punjab, it's 166%, Rajasthan 151%, Haryana 134%. And the annual groundwater consumption is more than annual acceptable groundwater resources. And that is what we call that it is being overexploited. And the rural part of India that largely depends on groundwater for various purposes, which is worrisome in this scenario. And that includes agriculture as well, which is perhaps the most important livelihood option available to the rural India today. Now, the other problem which is getting added to this is that water pollution. And we all know how much money is being spent on cleaning of rivers, and that is all due to the pollution or the pollutants that are simply added to the rivers. And that is further adding to the availability of fresh water and drinkable water, potable water. It is what is causing that. It is the industries nearby. Of course, there are regulations if they follow. It is sewage in many cities. It is agriculture runoff, because we are using quite a bit of pesticides, insecticides, and even fertilizers. Because what is good for the plant, you are talking about nitrogen, till a certain level, it's good for the plant, but the same amount of nitrogen in water, in potable water, is not good for drinking purposes. Now, according to the recent report published by Central Pollution Control Board, I'm talking of 21, not that recent, but still, India's current water treatment capacity is 27.3%, and the sewage treatment capacity is 18.6%, with another 5.2% capacity being added. Thus, there exists a huge gap between the capacities of STPs and the sewage generated. And the situation is worst in the rural parts. In fact, we are talking of Swachh Bharat mission. And one of the important things that if we really want sanitation to the highest level, we need to have STPs around every village that should take care of the sewage. But I'll also like to add that sewage, yes, it's a big problem, but a bigger problem is the industrial waste. And significant volume of untreated industrial effluent is discharged directly into the surface water bodies. And one of the reasons for that is that water is not priced properly. It's rather the treatment cost is far greater than perhaps the extraction cost. And I'll share with you a real example, like we are looking into our hills, and where most of the hills water scarcity is a big problem. And unfortunately, the growth of tourism sector in those areas is very fast. They are getting water. And of course, it's you and I who go and we enjoy the hills and we come back, we use water without thinking from where it is coming. So I was just discussing with them why not to set up a plant, and the treatment cost perhaps will be a rupee or two. But the answer I got was why? Why should we set up the entire infrastructure? We just collect it from the nearby water source. And therefore, for us, the cost is only bringing it to the resort. So while the treatment, setting up the infrastructure for treatment and its capex and opex is going to be higher than the transportation cost of water.
Right.
Otherwise, also when we talk of agriculture, there are so many mayas available in terms of saving water. Like we talk of what is happening, or a few years back, we all have gone for a sort of laser leveling of the field so that every plant more or less get equal amount of water, and we flood it. So that is not the best method. We do have sprinklers. We have now subsoil irrigation. You set the pipes at the level where the roots of the plants are. You irrigate only the root zone. No water gets lost from the surface of the soil. You are not giving water to the weeds. So it's a viable option. The only problem today is no one wants to invest in capex. No one wants to invest because water otherwise is free. Agriculture is such a sensitive subject that governments of various states, and I'll say it's also somewhere that we have this challenge of ensuring that food is available to large masses at an affordable cost. And therefore, if cost of production will go up, and water is one of the main ingredients, then food will become expensive, which you don't want to have. With the result, many states either they are giving or subsidized or free electricity for agriculture purposes. So the farmer does not care how much water is being used. And that is leading to overexploitation of water. And so therefore, like I'll say, paddy is not the best crop for Punjab, and sugarcane is not the best crop for Maharashtra. We keep on growing them. So can we change our policies and we compensate farmer in some other form rather than giving subsidy on water? So that becomes an important point. The other is that can we also look into the other opportunities of setting up of STPs? Can we think of that, okay, the industries which are using the recycled water, or what is their total consumption of water, they will be awarded for their efforts, or it becomes the program whereby the buying water becomes expensive, and therefore for them, retreating water becomes cheaper for them. Now, and there are many other things which I should say we need to educate or get educated in a better way. Like we talk of the domestic sector. The demand of water is increasing. And the reason for that, apart from rise in population, is also the improving standards of living of people. We talk of like simple calculation, how much water you use by using bucket versus shower. There is a huge difference. You talk of like, I'll say 90% of the households today have RO water. Do they really need it? Because the municipal water that is supplied in most of the cities is potable. And what is happening by RO is you are removing all the salts, and then you also suffer from diseases like arthritis and so on. So one hand you talk of mineral water, on the other hand you talk of RO water, and most of the builders, when they build the flat, they ensure that the RO water is simply goes straight to the drain, it doesn't disturb you. So there is hardly any household which will be collecting the reject of RO for other purposes because we have forgotten the use of bucket. So over there, when you are talking almost 80% of the water going waste and only 20% as drinkable, it's a huge wastage. So we should be sensitive about it. Now, when we talk of the flagship program of the government like Ghar Jal, there has been significant improvement in terms of availability of water. And as per the National Sample Survey 78th round, 95% of the people in rural area and 97.2% in cities have access to improved sources of drinkable water during 2021. Now, of course, when I'm talking about this number, you also find that in many places there are no taps available at their homes, but then they are getting through the tankers. But still, it is potable water, which is a big thing. So, really speaking, I like to say that water problem is complex, and there are issues related to quantity, quality, pollution, excess. But then these issues to me are solvable. And it is that first, the understanding of the issue, making people aware of those issues, and then moving towards the solution. So it is something that we should become sensitive towards before it reaches the stage of no return. Because if you have depleted groundwater, it's going to be very difficult. Follow the regulations. If you have to set up a water harvesting system, it is not just to convince the government when you're getting completion certificate for your house. It is more of, I have to live in this area and my next generation will also have to live. So where the water is going to come from.
Right. Right. Dr. Dhawan, you've given us a very broad and deep picture, and the sense of complexity of India's water crisis, where 6% of our population, data suggests, lacks access to safe water. You also spoke of solutioning. So how can stakeholders such as the government, bodies such as yours, corporates, technologists, startups perhaps, work together to develop the lasting solutions for water sustainability in diverse geographies, which actually is India? And additionally, how do you think women can be involved to ensure successful implementation of initiatives, considering the vital role that water plays in our lives?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that reminds me, TERI has a center in Mukteshwar. And the very first time when we were inaugurating that center, Chief Secretary and others were there, and lots of women and young girls were standing and looking at what is happening over there. And then they asked me, "Hame bhi pani de do." So I thought they are talking of refreshment. So I said, let the function be over. You all are more than welcome. So after all that speeches and all, then I invited them because as locals. And then I said, enjoy. And their answer was, "Hum is pani ki baat nahi kar rahe hain. हमको अपने घर में पानी चाहिए. And the following day, when I was standing there and I saw at least 10 young girls, I think they all were below 20 years, they were going down carrying almost 20 liters of water at their head and climbing up the hill. So that, and those girls, rather than spending time in the school, they were only collecting water. They had to. And then if you look at the situation even today, because in hills, what happens is immediately the water gets washed away. And giving them a tank of 1500 liter capacity changes the entire agriculture pattern for them. And for you and me, 1500 liter, perhaps that tank we use every day at our house. And they are able to manage crops. So in a way, I said, how? And they said, we don't waste water. We give water to every plant. And we give it in the evening so that it absorbs till morning. So that's how we can get increasing agriculture productivity. Now, on the other hand, if we look at the industries, many of them, they just don't care for the water. They waste water. And we need to change our policies and incentives, perhaps. And it was a good policy of Delhi government as well, where it was that, okay, we'll give you free water, but till a certain limit. If you exceed that, then water becomes very expensive. So that's, in a way, teaching you that to us, this much water is enough. Beyond that, you're wasting, and therefore you have to pay for every drop that you have used from the free quota as well. So that is good. And we have to move towards efficient water use and ensure that it is managed properly. And we have to look at sustainability of water resources, the infrastructure available, no fresh water, say for irrigation purposes, especially when we are talking of horticultural species. And are there some sort of, like we need to introduce some long-term sustainability services and explore something like green finance mechanisms in water sector, so that those who are saving water, they get credited for it. And it is the planning part also has to be interministerial, because see, like we have come out with the energy bill, so that includes the use of, so somewhere it is that you have to use renewable energy in big housing complex and so on. Why can't we also ensure that the big housing projects should have recycling of water? The STPs that they set up, the entire water should be used for maintaining the lawns and so on. And somewhere, as I mentioned to you about the RO plant, many of us are even aware how much of water is wasted in RO. So, and that 80% is going down the drain. We are not using it for any gainful activity. So I'll also say that there is limited awareness today about the sustainable water management, and we are misusing this important resource because it's not priced for. So to overcome these challenges, I personally feel that involvement of all the stakeholders is important. So first you bring awareness, you tell them how you can manage this resource better, and some sort of ownership among the citizen, whether it's at the rural level or it's at the city level, local governments, water departments, they should play an important part in planning, management, sensitization, and so on. And perhaps some sort of government investment is also required, especially when we look at the rural India, because they don't even have STPs. And as I had mentioned to you earlier, the existing gap. So if there is no STP, you cannot use the water which is wasted once or used once. So if we calculate, if we take into consideration that it's an important resource which is impossible to create, then put cost or rather make investments, I think it can be done. Now, you mentioned specifically about women. And I'll say that we can consider them as primary managers and users of water. But now we are not empowering them with the tools to save water. We really have to ensure that we give them proper training in terms of saving of water, utilization of water, and ensure that they participate an important role in the decision making. What should be done, especially in the rural India, that what is it, what kind of water resources they require, what will help them, and how they would like to use. So decision making at their level and leadership role will play a crucial role.
Okay. But I want to now focus on the role of TERI. You know, TERI is a prominent organization leading the charge in sustainable development, research, and advocacy, and also takes action to tackle many of the environmental crises, which includes water. And your efforts have been amplified through a recent MOU with the Deen Dayal Port Authority, which aims to achieve water neutrality to conserve this very precious resource. Can you share with us some of the other initiatives that TERI has taken to ensure water security and promote sustainable water management practices among businesses? And, how have these contributed to resilient green growth?
Sure. Well, you're right. TERI has signed an MOU with the India Port Authority to help them achieve their water targets of reducing the water consumption by a set target in a given timeline, and would develop a roadmap for annual action plan to reduce fresh water consumption and undertake water conservation. And TERI has been actively involved with industrial sector in facilitating achievement of goals of the National Water Mission. We have worked with various industrial sectors like railways, FMCG, tobacco, and so on in undertaking water use efficiency studies. For National Water Mission in particular, TERI is undertaking a study to develop benchmark for water use in selected 4 water-intensive industries, namely thermal power plants, textile, pulp and paper, and iron and steel. Now, what we are essentially doing is that we do the water audit exercise in these sectors, assessing the baseline of water use, and then suggest potential opportunities of water reduction in these sectors. Now, based on the opportunities and existing best practices, TERI is developing potential benchmarks that shall exchange industries reduce water consumption and enhance water use efficiency. This surely will help the industrial sector to enhance their water use efficiency and move towards water security. We are also assisting corporates in achieving their CSR goals and help industries take up water conservation initiatives, because that is where, if there is, you set up a sort of water harvesting unit. Right. And that is what we have done in Mukteshwar. So when it rains and they collect all the water and use it for their future use. So that all is under CSR. You are just giving thanks to the communities. We have also helped set up ponds in different parts of, I should say, various states, Punjab, Rajasthan, and so on. And there is one project which is on wastewater treatment based on TEDOX technology. That is TERI's advanced oxidation technology. And it used a nanoparticle. The beauty of this technology is that irrespective of the level of contamination of water, within 5 hours, you can treat it. And that water is good for irrigation purposes. We have done the studies, rather till now, we have found that it is there is no impact even on crops like mung bean and so on. Nothing gets into the plant and you can eat it, but still we would like to play safe. Until that time, long-term studies are done. We would say use it for horticultural purpose. Grow your grass, maintain your flower plants, and so on. And this technology we have even tested, or it's under testing in Kanpur with a textile hub, because textile industry, they produce a lot of wastewater. So therefore, the amount of wastewater that is generated into 5, that is the kind of space you require. And when I say into 5, it stands. So you can go vertical. So it's not a huge investment. Yes, there is going to be one-time investment of capex, but thereafter, it is the running cost will take care of the water. Will be same or little higher than the cost of water you are buying otherwise for. So it's a very potent technology. And also what we have to look into, what is happening today is, yes, Pollution Control Board is there. They have set regulations. But most of the industries, they find that treating water is very expensive. They require a huge setup, and therefore they try not to follow them. And they put it in the river. Then we talk of cleaning of Ganges and cleaning of rivers, where we spend crores and crores of rupees. So what is happening? You have 1 liter of polluted water that you're mixing in 10,000 liters. Then you have to clean that 10,000 liters. Yeah. But if you have the technology, and really speaking, we do have the technology. So what we are saying is treat this 1 liter, use it, reuse this water. And therefore, all this money that government is spending, we are talking of Swachh Bharat. So water availability, so everything is taken care of. So that is what I'm repeatedly saying. There are solutions which may require initial investment, but that initial investment is also that a particular department has to do. Otherwise, also we are spending this money because we have to clean huge volumes of water. We are losing biodiversity. Sometimes you read fish had died. Sometimes there are so many news items which appear time and again, which in a way gives us challenge what is going to happen to our water resources. So that is important. The other thing which we are doing, and you might have heard that TERI is working with the housing sector. We have a system of accrediting building called GREHA. Now, in GREHA, initially we started with energy efficiency, basically designing. We have now expanded into the second part, which is sustainable building material. So, and also, so first was how can you cut down on the use of energy? The second is what kind of building material you should use for better insulation, as well as how that material itself was produced in terms of GHG emission. Now, for the large buildings, we have also entered into water audit. So we are giving them the entire designing and also telling them where they are right, where they are wrong, what they can do, is that the entire wastewater should be treated and reused over there. And I'll invite anyone to come and visit TERI's complex in Gurugram. It's a TERI retreat. It's a building, and I'm talking of the year 2002, I think it was inaugurated. It's a zero waste generation building. So the entire water which comes either from the kitchen or from the toilets, that is treated by a root zone treatment, and we use that water for irrigating our fields. So the entire housing complexes, the new ones, perhaps can take care of ensuring that water is used as a precious resource.
Dr. Dhawan, it's very interesting that, TERI has provided solutioning not just for businesses, with its efforts, but also solutioning for, households. So at both levels, we can actually take care of water pollution. But I'm very keen to understand, you said this nanotechnology, which is being used at the textile hub in Kanpur. Which are the other industries potentially that you think could use this technology?
Well, we started with textile largely because it's one of the most water intensive and water polluting industry. Leather, and as I told you, this particular technology, it can also be used for treating sewage at the village level. So therefore the technology, and it doesn't any kind of wastewater you can treat. So therefore, all the industries, I'll say, they can use this technology and get benefited. So our pilot is in Kanpur cluster, Ruma cluster, but once we are through with the results and the entire initiative is supported by the government, I'm sure we are going to take it to the next level.
Dr. Dhawan, thank you very much. You laid out how India can benefit economically from adopting sustainable practices for water sustainability, circularity, and deliver efficiency. Thank you very much for joining us here at Economic Times.
Thank you. Nice interacting with you. Bye-bye.